Well, we're here today with my good friend Barry Mitchell from Sevierville, Tennessee. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I think I'm going to make it. I think I'm going to make it. Now, first of all, for people that don't know who Barry Mitchell is, I mean, my goodness, you've worked with entertainers and professionals like who, for example?
Let's be honest here, Nathan. Mo- Most people have no clue who I am, and that's okay. I mean,
Yeah,
think about your circle of friends. There's probably not even a dozen people that like you.
yeah.
So I don't think it really matters who I am now. I've been very blessed. I've had a career in entertainment for over 30 years. I realize I look like I'm in my 20s, but
Exactly. Yeah.
I've worked with country music stars and theaters in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. I live in Tennessee, and I travel now and just stay, hopefully, on the road. I like to say that if I'm home, I'm broke. But mainly we focus on children's entertainment now.
Right.
I mean,
You do mainly children's entertainment, and of course you do upwards programs. You do some church camps and things of that nature. Is that correct?
mhm. That's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
And most of the stuff that you do is stuff that, or all the stuff you do is stuff that you've created.
Yes, that's true. I write, so I love to write stories with a motivational point, and then on the magic tricks that I create, we always we in many cases we offer a gospel application so that performers that buy that. I probably shouldn't use the word performers because the things that I create are pretty simple, so that anyone can do it, whether you're a performer or you're doing a Sunday school class. Anyone can tell a story and reach children.
You know, you worked with all the country stars. You've worked at Dollywood, but for the past
Well,
several
now,
years,
just to correct you there, not all the country stars. There's quite a few of them out there. Just,
what were
just,
the country stars that you've worked with?
just some really old ones.
Yeah.
No, I first worked with T.G. Shepherd and opened for him for a year, and then Jim Ed Brown and Helen Cornelius and Hunley. We had a show together, and I opened for them for a year. So just a few, and then Dolly Parton is a part owner in the Dixie Stampede, which is a dinner attraction in Pigeon
Hmm.
Forge, and I was a performer in the show at Dixie Stampede for 4 years. I was the comedian at that show. So that's really where I got a great deal of experience, developed my timing, and went on from there. So, in some ways, a very short career, but a very long career from the standpoint of working for individual churches and schools and corporations and such.
So back in those days, your audiences were mostly adult audiences.
Well, no, family audiences.
Family. Well, I'm using the word adult, but I'm meaning family. You know, you didn't do just children, but it was families. But here lately, ever since I've known you, it's been mostly children's entertainment that you've done.
Well, I mean, in reality, I've been doing it all along. I mean, I started out as a family entertainer when I was 16, but focusing on just children's entertainment would have been starting maybe in the early 2000s.
Would you say that the audience, the children's audience, has changed, or the way children respond have changed from when you started till today? Is there stuff you have to do to keep their attention more, or is it basically the same?
Yes and no. I think kids are basically kids. Um, but so that part of it hasn't changed. There's still things that you can do that reach them. However, their level of attention or attention span, in my opinion, is different. We have so many images that come at us so quickly uh, now that you and I, watching television, we didn't see things in that way. So they're going to need stimuli a lot faster. But that's not a bad thing necessarily, as long as I know it. That just means that the age of, and I'm not sure I'm not sure of a good example, but for some reason, this is the first example that comes to mind. The age of the felt. I don't even know what it's called.
Yeah, I
Remember
know what you're talking about. What, you
when
just
put
stick
these?
stick the stuff on the board and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That may be over. Yeah, that type of thing may be over because it is so slow uh, and so flat of a method of teaching that I think it's beyond what kids. It's too slow for kids to pay attention.
Right.
So, but kids will always pay attention to animation, as in animation movement, and seeing you act out a part, or as you tell a story, your enthusiasm in the story.
Right.
Kids, adults, everyone responds to enthusiasm, whereas something like that flat storytelling is, in my opinion, boring, but I think also in the opinion of children as well. So, yes, kids have changed. They need quicker stimuli and more stimuli, but that's not a bad thing as long as we understand that. And what's important is never me, it's always you. I think that's the key from an entertainer standpoint. It's all about the audience. So whether you're teaching Sunday school or whether you're a motivational speaker in front of thousands of people, the the point is that if you know your audience of 9-year olds and you know that you want to teach them this biblical principle, figure out the best way to do that. And the best way to do that is to understand how they think. And don't do it because what you used to do was comfortable for you. Do what is comfortable for them. And I think that's really the key to working with any age.
I preach this everywhere I go, and it's enthusiasm. You have to be enthusiastic because if you're not enthusiastic, it's all going to lay flat.
There's a good friend of mine, a motivational speaker, and he's actually the person that convinced me to go into speaking because he said that he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, which was great and a great experience for me. And he always said that the last four letters of the word enthusiasm are IASM, and they stand for I am sold myself. So when you are enthusiastic, you're sold on the idea, so much so that projects in everything you do. So I've always remembered that. And so when I stand in front of an audience and I, do this or whatever it is I
Yeah.
do, that energy translates to them and they give it back to me.
And,
Uh, so
and
yeah,
if you're not feeling good, fake it till you make it. You got to do it.
what I feel is some completely unimportant when it comes to an audience. One of the things that bothers me, I grew up in a very small Baptist church, and we would someone in the church would stand up to sing, and they would begin by saying, "Well, folks, I've been a little down in the weather, and can you pray for me?" Now, here's my opinion of that. I don't mean to step on anyone's toes that might say that, but you know what? If you need prayer to get up there and sing the song, then sit down and let someone else sing it. Okay? Because there's nothing wrong with me praying for you, but this might not be the right time for you to be on the stage.
Yeah.
And if you're that sick, then don't get on the stage. It's just that idea of don't start your presentation with an apology because the audience doesn't care. Start your presentation with enthusiasm. And I think that's the key, whether you're a church worker or paid professional.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, that needs to be a Facebook post right there. I'm telling you.
Okay. Well, can we just end there because we should go out on a high note? Okay.
Okay. George, thank you, George. I'm out of here. Hey, let's
I
talk.
will not be here all week. I'm done.
We're gone. Let's talk creativity. Most folks watching this, uh, you know, they're in a Sunday school class or they're with a super church group or super church team, and they have to come up with new ideas
Do, do,
every
you,
week.
do you not have anyone in a mediocre church team? I mean, is everything super? Maybe some average teams?
not a just we're not going to have super church today. We're going to have a mediocre church. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
I think even if you're going for super, some days it's just mediocre. All right, let's just be honest here,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. Because I need to apologize, but I just don't feel good today.
That's right. So go home and bring in the associate. All right.
But a lot of times these men and women and teenagers, they've got to come up with something new every single week. And um, I've got my book here that's got these ideas, but I don't want this stuff. I want something that's going to grab these kids' attention. So I'm calling you the king of creativity. So what are some of the things that you do to get creative, and where do you get your ideas from?
Okay. Well, you should correct yourself and not call me the king of creativity. That's very kind. It also points out how limited your scope of friends are. So
I
keep
don't
that in
think
mind.
so. I don't think so.
So, creativity is all about having stimuli around yourself. And that is one advantage that the person who has to come up with a weekly presentation has today that they didn't have years ago. Years ago, we had the books that were on our shelf. Or the library that was in town. But today we can go online and we have the world at our fingertips. I can go into a Home Depot and I have the world of every little tool or trinket that I have no clue what they do.
Yeah.
But seeing that, putting that visual and that possibility of what this could be in my mind, I'm basically creating a storehouse of little treasures that in the beginning, well, that's trash. Okay, I have no idea what that is, but when that goes in here and it mixes with all these other things, it can become a treasure. But in order for it to mix, there has to be some spark in the beginning. So your goal is to create something every week. So now, give me a little more information. Let's say, is there a specific story, a Bible story that we're teaching? Is there a specific chapter in the Bible that you want to focus on? In other words, we need a little more information to figure out what's going to push us toward that creative thing. So maybe you know the point you want to teach, or maybe you know the character you want to talk about. What relates to that character or point? What inside all of those treasures that you've gathered around, or when you go on and Google that character's name, what do you see? What jumps out at you? Or for the standpoint of there's just, I don't know how many, let's use the word gobs of information out there of people that have written children's sermons
Right.
that are on every subject. So the computer is like an index of every subject you can think of. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to use what someone else has written, but what they might write might inspire something on you or
Hmm.
from you. Quick example, what a church that I used to go to, the pastor was he was a horrible speaker, but a great communicator. And here's what I mean by that: he couldn't stay on task. A 3 point sermon meant nothing to him because he might he might have 12 points in his sermon and it might go on what appeared to be all day long. Okay, so it just seemed to be unending but yet entertaining because it didn't appear that he had a clue to a script. Now, I'm a big script person, so that's important to me, but somehow or other within all of that bad speaking ability, he was always able to communicate some great truth, or at least that's what I picked up from it. So, for example, in one of his sermons, he said, "Take home the lamb." And that phrase really stuck with me. That Jesus is the lamb, and so
Yeah.
it's not it's I don't know how to, because it tickled me when I heard it. So the Passover is the Lamb, and now in the New Testament, the Lamb is Jesus. So we can take home the Lamb in our heart, and just that one expression spurred in me an entirely different story. So explain the entire Bible from Passover to Jesus with the term "take," that we can take home the Lamb. Um, I'm not going into detail with that. I'm just saying that sometimes one little nugget you hear can spark your interest. So if it sparks your interest, don't stop there. You need to research that. Um, I'll try to make this quick because I tend to go too long, and you can interrupt me, by the way.
I will. Go ahead.
Okay. A friend of mine said, Barry, can you write a story about a centipede? And he gave me a basic nugget of what he wanted. And so the first thing I did was research a centipede, because his point was that it has 100 legs, and that's why it's called a centipede. Well, when I started researching, I found out there are no centipedes with 100 legs, because they can't have an equal amount of legs.
Yeah.
And so there was all these little things that, an equal set. So there might be 101 sets of legs, but it was never 100 or 50 sets of legs, you might say. My math may not be right on any of
Okay.
that, but nonetheless, when I researched centipedes, I then knew more about their characteristics. Well, once I knew them, I could then write a story about them. And then as I wrote the story, the moral presented itself, because in the story, we may be jumping ahead to what we wanted to talk about, but let me do this because I think it may help to explain the creative process
Okay.
for every week. In my way of thinking about it, and this is what I put in one of my books, a story has 5 elements: STORY. S is the setting, so you need to know what's taking place. If you put that biblically, the setting could be where Jesus is teaching a principle or a story. T is the characters. So in the case of the centipede, I knew the character I had was a centipede. I needed to give him some personality. And I said, okay, who are some other characters in his story? So I came up with a grasshopper. And so I created some characters. And then, so that's STO is the obstacle. There must always be a conflict in a story. We're not interested just to hear about how great someone's life is. We want to know, what is the struggle that was presented for you and how did you overcome it? And so the overcoming is the R, that's the resolution. Setting, the characters, the obstacle, the resolution. Because we need to see how you overcame it. So now in my story, I gave a problem to the centipede, and then we came up with a solution that, ironically, the caterpillar was, or excuse me, the grasshopper was the one that offered the help. And
Mm-hmm.
so we could create a message from that. And then the why for me is the yippee. It's that moment
Yeah.
at the end of the story when it all comes together and you say, oh, I get it. And this is what you hope the audience will say, that they will go, oh, I get it. They get the moral. And so if you take the stories and teachings of Jesus and you really break them down, you can find all 5 of those elements. And you're always going to find in the parable, you're always going to find the yippee, the teaching or nugget within that. So as a teacher that comes up with something every week, you need to know one of those ending points. You need to know either the characters, the setting. You need to know some beginning, or you need to know that yippee, that nugget that you want to get across. If you have one of those, just like in algebra, if you know a couple things, you can find that other one.
Right.
If you have one of those, you should be able to add more stimuli and then start writing it out.
So you've got to tell me something that you alluded to it and then you just left it. But you said the centipede cannot have an equal number of legs.
Well, I wrote the
There's got to
story.
be something there. There's got to be a good reason for that.
Um, I don't remember. I don't
Okay.
remember. But you know that that may be something that your viewers may want to look into. There was something about that has to be an odd number of sets of legs. So that would mean if you had 50 sets of legs, you would have 100. But since it always has to be an odd number, not that it has to be, but for some reason in nature it always is. So
Yeah.
that would mean 50, it would only have either 49 sets of legs or 51. And it can go, it's not just always close to 100. I think, I mean, there could be hundreds. I think one of them maybe even has 300
Wow.
feet, something like that.
Hey, you talked a little bit earlier about walking into Lowe's or Home Depot, but you can get the same kind of ideas like walking into the dollar store or Dollar Tree or Hobby Lobby or
Yeah, it really depends on your budget, doesn't it?
yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah, it really is. And we're going. We may be going over the heads of some people here because they may not have time to to walk around the hardware store, because part of my living is made creating magic tricks and props. Then I take time to do that because that's my living.
Hmm.
Um, but what I'm saying is, if you're in the store with your spouse and they're there to look for something, walk down an aisle that you would never go down and see stuff that you would have never seen before, toys and hardware and stuff like that. If you go through Dollar Tree, there's a world of magic tricks there. I created 2 DVDs called Wish I had thought of that, and Part 2. Because there was even more ideas, and that were pretty much all created from the dollar stores. Magic tricks that you could create there. So each day, literally for a month, each day I would go back to the Dollar Tree and look to see what would stimulate another idea.
I know. It's not that I try to stay ahead. That's not the purpose of this. But I know that a lot of times that if I'm in the dollar store, if I'm in Walmart or wherever I am, and I see something, and oh gosh, this would be great to use for what and it might be something that you're not even planning on using for a week or 2 weeks or 6 months down the road, but you get it and make a note and so stay ahead, and I've always said if you get an idea, you better write it down because you're going to forget it the next day or that afternoon, so get that whatever it is you're wanting to get and write down what it is you want to use it for, and put it on the shelf, and then whenever ever the time comes you'll have it.
Well, but that's kind of one of the aspects of a creative mind. You still with me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. There was a tremendous lull in the sound, and I thought, I bet he muted himself and he doesn't know it. Okay, but if the reason you're only seeing what you're seeing right now of me is because I don't want you to see The Office.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
not going to pick up the phone because everything around me is stimuli.
Yeah.
And there's a wide assortment of weird things sitting around me in the floor because they have. Okay, what is that? Okay, I don't know yet. Throw it here. Um, for example, this is sitting on my desk. It is a urine sample, specimen sample, and I picked it up when I went to the doctor. I thought they probably didn't need one more, so I brought this one home, and I simply I wrote on it kidney stone, and I put a little foam rock inside.
Whoa. Wow.
Okay, this is this is not one of those things. Object in the mirror are smaller than here. It really was that big. So I just I have no purpose for that. But I said I don't know. I'm gonna set it on my desk one day.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah.
You never know. So yes, I pick up those things now. If you get them at Dollar Tree, it's not quite as expensive to
Right.
do that. Keep them in the bag,
Hmm.
you know, and put it aside. And if you don't figure it out later, you haven't used it, Dollar Tree will make exchanges. I'm not saying, I am not saying you buy something, you use it, and then take it back. That is wrong on
Yes.
so many levels. Okay, that is so wrong. But if you haven't used it and it's stimuli, they will take a return. Probably shouldn't have even brought up the subject. I guess I had kidney stone on my mind. So
You need to
yeah,
take that back to the doctor whenever you go. Say, Doc, I
yeah.
just need to pull that.
My doc is on my email list, so he gets my jokes each week. Um, so yes, creative people tend to have a lot of stimuli around them. Not everyone does, and you do appear to be very disorganized if you're creative.
Yeah.
Uh, the reality is you are very good. There's a really good chance you're very disorganized, but you have a lot of ideas around you. That's not something everyone does. So don't feel bad if you have a nice, neat desk. That's a good thing too.
Yeah.
Uh,
We were at the Goodwill store the other day, and there was a little stack of no fishing signs. They were used, but they're fluorescent green and orange and purple. They were all different colors, and I said, God. So I bought them. I think it cost $1 to get all of those little signs. And my daughter was like, "What are you going to do with those?" I don't know, but look at them. They look
well,
cool.
okay, now that's really good. I like that. When you said that, um, here's my first thought that comes to mind. You put no fishing signs all over the church. Put one on the bathroom door. Put one at the front door. Put one at the exit. Put them all over the stage. So when people come into the church, everywhere they look, there's a no fishing sign. And then you write a sermon about how that the world is constantly telling us, don't fish here. Okay, I'm happy with who I am. I don't need Jesus, so no fishing. All right, but
Okay.
but Jesus is saying when we open that door and go out that back door, there's a harvest out there, and now is the time to go fishing. So it's your choice. Are you gonna read the signs, or are you gonna do what Jesus said to do? Go fishing. So
Wow. Yeah.
there's your sermon. All right.
There's. Well, thank you, sir. I'll take that and use it. So.
All right. It only cost you $1 too. There you go.
That's right. I like it.
Yeah, the
Hey,
no fishing signs could be big.
I hear you. Let's talk about the Smile Maker Studio. This is a great thing that you have going on. I can describe it, but you would do a whole lot better job than what I would. I love what it is, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, because over the years I've created so many tricks and I have a lot of video footage, DVDs, and such, I wanted to put all of those things in one place. So we created a subscription service so that as a member, you have access to all of my video footage. Each month we add a little more content. But at the present time, we started it in April. At the present time, there's way more content there than you can consume in a month.
Right.
Uh, and pick out the subject you want to look into, and it's there. Some of it is gospel application magic, some of it is creativity, a lot of it is teaching on how to use certain props. It kind of it is my life, is what it is. So we want it because it is the Barry Mitchell Library. Other than when guest speakers do a presentation, everything in there is mine. So from that perspective, you can say, well, if I don't like what you do, then I would have no interest in the studio. Well, you're right. You know, because I'm not offering a service of a variety of people. This is the Barry Mitchell Library. So if you like what I do, there's a variety of things that I can teach you. And it's a bargain because it's $19 a month, which is basically the cost of a DVD.
Right.
So it's a pretty good deal if it's something that you're interested in. You can go to smilemakerstudio.com and take a little look around, look at the opening video on the front page to see what it is. You won't be able to see any content unless you join either as a visitor or as a paid member. You can join for free as a visitor, and it gives you access to some content. It gives you access to the guest speakers, and you're going to do a guest speaker session for us, which I think is going to be really neat. So, and that is free for visitors, SmileMakerStudio.com. You can come and join us, and you'll be giving me your email address, and I will market to you the rest of your life.
I will say this though, it benefits teachers and puppeteers and clowns and magicians, and we've used the term magician a lot today, but your stuff. This is not a negative, but you don't have to be a magician to perform the tricks that you create.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really big deal to me. Although you and I use the word magician because in our minds, that's what we are. That's kind of where our interest started. But one of the greatest compliments I can get personally is when, after a show, someone calls me something other than a magician. And I mean something they would say to my face, not what they said to me over there.
Thank you so very much for being with us today, and I do appreciate any last words before we go. Because I mean, you've just thrown out so many nuggets, and you probably don't even realize it, but it's been some great stuff.
Well, I appreciate it. It's an honor to talk with you. I met you many years ago. We had a very interesting history and a very good one, but a very interesting one. And I treasure your friendship. You mean a lot to me, and I'm honored that you would ask me to be a part of this. Hopefully, we said something that helped one of your listeners.
Thank you so very much.